Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is the Monday Awareness Upgrade with Devoted Heart Lauren. Thanks for tuning in. Is it working? Yep. Okay, cool. So today's topic is about humility. Humility and keeping your heart open. So humility, being humble, and in this case, I want to talk in particular about learning the same lessons over and over again. So I read a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago now, about from a book from Tasha Silver, and it was all about building bridges and then having God or the divine come and sort of test out your bridges and like jump on the bridge that you've created in order to traverse a certain obstacle on a certain path, and then having it be tested. Okay, and so if you fail the test for whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever lesson you're trying to learn and traverse in your life, then the bridge breaks and you have to do it again. So in order to do it again and actually be able to do something differently, I have found that I really need to approach my life, my situation, my brain with humility, because otherwise it's just frustration on top of frustration of being presented with the same lesson over and over again, the same type of person, the same like archetype, some of the same patterns, and then just being like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating that this is happening again. It's so annoying. And then I just get annoyed that I'm annoyed. Like, why haven't I figured this out yet? But when I'm able to approach a situation with humility, so okay, I realize and I accept that I haven't fully learned this lesson yet, that it hasn't, what I've done hasn't fully worked. I mean, it's worked in the sense that it's allowed my path to unfold, and maybe I needed to learn the lesson multiple times, but I haven't fully passed. It hasn't fully worked. And so I get to, rather than building frustration and irritation on top of frustration and irritation, actually be humble, be open-hearted, and look at, okay, how can I actually do things differently? How can I allow my heart to be open so that I can receive the messages from this situation or from this person or from whatever this intersection of time and space feels like? So let's drop in, let's breathe for a few minutes and see what comes up. So sitting tall, however you are, welcome, those that are here watching live. So sitting up tall, noticing your body, noticing your mind and its contents, maybe letting the eyes close if that feels okay. And giving yourself permission to take a look at your own wounds or the situations that you struggle with, the types of people that you tend to call into your life. Any lessons that you're aware that you have to keep learning over and over again, that you haven't quite been able to break through. And maybe you are conscious that you want to break through whatever that pattern is, or maybe you feel like, okay, this is just the way it is. And last week I was really tuning into a theme of going to the next level and taking myself more seriously. So, okay, yes, maybe this is what has been happening. Maybe I've tended to attract this certain type of person or this certain type of situation. But can I take myself seriously as someone who can possibly transcend beyond that, who can get to the next level, who can break those patterns? And with humility and an open heart, look at the things that I've done that haven't been effective, that haven't worked, and be willing to try a new approach and be uncomfortable in trying that new approach. So just notice anything that's coming up. And the ego is our attachment to power as an individual, as something that's separate from other entities. So notice anything that's coming up around ego, wanting to be right, wanting to look good. And see if you can dissolve a little bit of that attachment just in these few moments. There's nothing that you're being asked to do or say, but just feeling into that idea of the ego dissolving a little bit, of not caring how you look or whether other people think you're right or wrong. And dissolving any stigma around anything you think other people might think is wrong. And letting your heart bloom open. And being humble to receive the messages of your intuition, the messages that might have come from around you as well. Sometimes there's been, someone in your life or someone in my life who's told you something over and over again about, what you're messing up. And you can't seem to accept it. You can't seem to see it. And it just feels like a trigger. So any of those sorts of messages, let them wash over you. And it doesn't mean that they're true necessarily or that anybody's wrong or right. But just practicing the humility to not have to be right, to not have to look good, to not have to get it right the first time. Bringing your hands to your heart or anywhere else on the body that's feeling called to receive some attention or love. Let's take a few deep breaths. And then letting the eyes open. All right. So if anyone's here or if anyone's tuning in later, I would love to hear any shares of what came up, what you noticed. In what area could humility help you to move forward? Not being so attached to how you look or being right or wrong or, getting it right the first time. One thing that's, I think, been a big theme for me is about self-love and self-worth. So in yoga spaces, healing, transformation spaces, we talk a lot about self-love and self-worth. And so it feels like a lesson that I've learned a million times. And I've had so many revelations and breakthroughs and experienced so much transformation around this idea. And then when something comes up where I feel not super confident in myself or not super loving and accepting of myself, I get kind of annoyed. Like, oh my gosh, I've done so much work on this already. And I've grown so much and I've really transformed from who I used to be to who I am now. And it feels like, oh, this is it. There can't possibly be more. But there's always more. There's always more that's unfolding. There's always more layers that are revealed. And so I'm practicing, rather than getting irritated and then getting irritated that I'm irritated, actually being willing to relearn whatever the lesson is and say, okay, I guess I need to build this bridge again and try to cross it again in a new way with a new perspective based on where I am now and what's being revealed. Okay, so that's kind of an example from my life. And I would love to hear any of your examples. So may we go forth this week with open hearts and with the humility to relearn the things that we're still working on. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.